is here, Joe is here, and Rachel's here. Good? Okay. Have a motion to approve the agenda. John? Second. Kathy? Any discussion? All in favor? So Rob has just walked in.
Hello.
Okay. Minutes, the first minutes would be for January 15th, 2026. John?
Second.
Second. Who's that? Ellen? Any discussion? All in favor? Aye, opposed? Okay. I forgot to ask Rachel, anybody else on the list?
Pat.
Pat?
Yeah.
Pat, okay.
Mario says he's waiting in Zoom to be let in. Does that make sense?
I can accept it too.
Next one is the February 19th minutes. Have a motion for approval? I move. John. Doug, second. Any comments? All in favor? Aye, opposed? Okay, thank you.
Abstain.
Abstain, right.
Two.
Two abstentions. Okay, Mike, so you're on.
Good evening, everybody. As you're all aware, not a lot has been happening in the last couple months outside because of the winter, but a little bit of a change of pace this week, which we will get into. Give you guys an update on some punch list and commissioning and where we're at with the fields. For punch list, we got 12 open punch list items that are related to the building. Work's occurring when it can in the mornings, early on before school, in the afternoons or weekends if available, or the upcoming PD days next week. Which we do have some work lined up for to address the majority of those 12 items. That leaves the balance open at 31 for exterior and athletic field related punch list items. Now that the weather's turning for the better, most of these items can now be completed in this upcoming last phase, and they will be addressed. Commissioning, just as a reminder to the group that none of your HVAC system warranties have started, as the systems have not yet been accepted by the commissioning agent. Commissioning agent is still waiting on a final tab report in order to finalize commissioning of the HVAC systems. Where we're at in that timeline is, we're expecting the final tab report by the end of next week. And we're going to be providing the commissioning agent a list of what systems the HVAC contractor and the controls contractor feel are ready for that final commissioning step with the commissioning agent. We had a productive meeting earlier this week with SLAM and IES and CES, and I feel like we're making the right strides to get those systems finalized, get that list over to the commissioning agent to the point where we can get these systems accepted to start generating warranties. For the fields, obviously the weather is turning for the better, and we're close to fully resuming the balance of the field work. Some of you may have noticed Field Turf had remobilized some of their equipment earlier on this week, and yesterday they had about 8 guys over there starting to relay synthetic turf and cement.
They were doing the infield today.
Yeah, they did the infield today. They're starting to roll it out, which is good to see. And then over the next 2 to 3 weeks, they'll finish that. They'll start cutting in all the game lines and start doing all the rubber and all the sand infill as well. So I'm hopeful that after that, the remaining flat work, the fencing, the storm drainage activities, all that is going to resume as we approach April 1st over the next couple weeks. So once the majority of those activities are underway, then Liberty Landscaping, who does everything underneath the synthetic turf carpet, can get going with all the drainage, all the stone, and all that. Any questions?
Yeah, I do have a question. On the commissioning of the HVAC system and the acceptance and to start the warranty, my first question is this a normal timeline? Is this how normally runs out, or is this?
No.
It's not?
No, it's not. We ran into a situation here, the balancer, who's the person who has to do this.
Yeah.
There's a major shortage in balancing trade contractors and how many of them are, and no, it's not the way it should be. I mean, it should have been done already. We've put MG Daily on notice. They know that, essentially you're getting free extended warranties on all of your equipment.
So it's kind of twofold, and I don't know if I'm gonna jump the gun on this or not, but my question is, if the air isn't, when it's saying balanced, to me, that's flow.
Airflow, yeah.
To me, that's flow, that's volume, that's air changes per minute. When we talk about humidity or moisture or dryness in the air, that follows the same suit when we talk about commissioning or the air balancing. Are we talking about the same thing?
I mean, balancing serves the things that are, to say that you have a final report, it means that every single little thing is done. There are parts of that building that have been balanced for like over a year. It's just the requirement to have one full and final balancing report for the job. We never staged it where we were doing it for each of the buildings. So, and even with that, when it comes to balancing, the balancing, a lot of it has to do with making sure that things are within very specific parameters. When balancing falls down is when you have a diffuser that is whistling or one that's not. I mean, as far as
Right, so again, that's airflow, I get it.
well, it's airflow and it's air and water. Both sides have to get balanced.
So air and water, understand the air system moving the air, the water moving the air. I'm talking about the water that's in the air. I'm talking about humidity at this point.
So
Is that gonna be, is this the reason why we're unsure of what our humidity is in the building, or that we know that it's low because of the balancing?
No.
No.
No, I mean, because I'd say the system is operating and it's providing the temperatures in the spaces as required. The equipment is working sufficiently to maintain space temperatures, to make sure that we're bringing in, all the outside air we have to. I mean, most of the systems, they are, right? They're 100% outside air. We're not really returning anymore. The issue when it comes to relative humidity is that we don't have building systems that actually infuse humidity. We can run building systems in a way that takes humidity out of the air. However, we don't have systems that actually provide it. And the issue that we're up against here is because of the harshness of the winter, that in keeping the space warm, the longer you spend warming the space up, the more you spend pulling moisture out of the air. So it's...
Okay. And again, if we have material in the building that's supposed to be having a certain percentage of humidity in the air, and we fail to reach that, if the air is too dry, how are we addressing that?
I think that's the conversation at this point, is how can we manipulate these units to a point where it is more in line with what the wood floors needs to be acceptable at, that range of
Right.
35 to
So,
50.
but do we even know, so I know we're still gathering data. Do we know, has this wood floor been in the proper humidity since we installed it?
No,
No.
Okay.
it was in the proper humidity the entire time leading up to its
Acclimation and installation, yes, but beyond that, no.
Acclimation was in the same space. Acclimation was in the same space.
It was, but remember, at that time of year, we were dehumidifying the space to bring it within compliance. We were
Gotcha.
not in the point of the project to humidify the space.
Okay,
So we had it under control in the time that it was brought to the space,
Yep.
acclimated, installed, and finished. And
Understood.
to the point that we could no longer keep, again, the temporary systems we brought in were to dehumidify the space, not
Right.
humidify the space.
So since the floors have been installed, there has been no humidity put back into the air if needed to bring that air up to the temperature, to the humidity level that this floor needs to live in. So how does that affect, right, so if we have, how does that affect the warranty of the floor? If it hasn't lived in that condition and it's been dried out at this point? Because that's my question.
Wood's always ever changing though, it's reacting to the environment that it's.
But it's not meant to react to, if we're putting a piece of wood that's supposed to be in 40% relative humidity and it's sitting at 2%,
Right, that's no bueno, that's not good.
Well,
how do
but to
we
your-
address
But to
that?
your point, I guess, I think I know the answer to this, but I don't, I'm gonna wait until I check, but I don't think that that we're voiding the warranty by it going outside of that recommendation. What happens is just, the things that have happened to the gym floor, I know that some may be offended when I say this, but they are very minor in comparison to how large of a gym floor that is and how harsh of an environment it was inside and outside of buildings all year. And even in your own house, right? It's brutal. We haven't seen a winter that bad in a long.
Excuse me.
We can hear you.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yep.
According, tell me, Mike, if I'm wrong, according to that report you sent me that outlined all the humidities and the temperatures during the installation period, right?
Yep.
In the AM readings, 50% of the readings were not within the recommended range.
I'm not familiar with what you're referring to, but the Excel spreadsheet that I sent you earlier this afternoon, everything that I saw was in the range of humidity.
Where it said AM and PM relative humidity readings,
Which report are you talking about, Mario?
The one by JJ Kern, I think.
I'm going to it. And to the second point, a quick, and I do mean quick, review of the warranty states that we do void it if we don't keep if the air's too humid. It also states, oddly enough, that the warranty does not cover improper installation. So as usual, warranties are, what they feel like giving you at the time.
So I just want to back up a little bit. So what you're saying, Mike, is that report, because I didn't have a chance to go through to tell me, what you're telling me is that that floor right now is in the proper, the air in that gymnasium is proper?
No, we're referencing the logs that were monitored and set up by the wood flooring installer. Their logs through acclimation, through installation.
Gotcha.
Jive with
Okay,
the requirements.
So
of
we
spec
feel
and
before,
FMA.
we feel while it was being installed, we were right where we were supposed to be.
Yes.
And we feel after it was installed and the HVAC system that we're still not commissioned, that has not been correct since the installation. Humidity has not been correct since its installation.
Mike, I found the form here. It is the Excel sheet and it runs from 8/18 to 10/16. The relative humidity is supposed to be between 35 and 50. The relative humidity AM readings, half of them are above 50 or below 50, or 35 rather. In the PM, it's much less. There's only 5 out of 19 that aren't within that range, unless I am reading this wrong. RHAM, I would imagine, stands for relative humidity AM in the morning, right?
Yep, that's what I would think.
Okay, well, 59, 54, 52, 57, 52, 54, in range, 54, 58, 58, 57, 60, 59, 53, 56. Those are all over the recommended range. Now, if you're gonna tell me they're only a hair out of the range, then, well, I don't know what to tell you. But they're outside the range during the installation period, so let's state facts.
So I'm more concerned, listen, I believe again, how are we checking humidity in the air today as we speak?
The building.
Your wall sensors.
Okay.
You have sensors in the.
We have sensors in the walls that show it, and it's showing,
And you have it at the air handlers.
and we have it the air handlers. And where are we at, Mario, do you know, last time we checked, in the gymnasium?
I don't know, Dean.
I think the last trend was, I don't even know if it was, I don't think it was out of the 20s.
I can tell you between March 1st and March 18th, both units were around, there were 5,000 readings taken. Every 5 minutes, there's a reading taken. And 10% of those readings were within the humidity requirements only time.
So 90% of the time they were out of range. All right. Okay, so obviously we have to figure that out. My other question is, I guess, and I understand that we're gonna get an extended warranty on the HVAC system because it's not balanced and it's not this.
Correct.
But the floor hasn't been living in the condition it was supposed to live in for 90% of the time. How are we gonna get an extended warranty on that? So that we're 2 years down the road, when let's just say you fix this problem tomorrow, all of a sudden, here's the idea, boom, we got humidity in the air, now we're maintaining that level. Now this floor comes up to where it's supposed to be and everything is acclimated again. And we're not even sure how this floor is gonna react after it gets acclimated again, once the humidity comes back in the air. But I'm concerned with a year down the road of this continuing to happen. And I understand what you're saying, Dave, it's really not that much, that size of floor, the amount of square footage right there, the amount of failure isn't that great. But that doesn't fix the idea that it's been sitting in the wrong conditioned air for a long time right now, and being used on top of it. So I understand that we're getting an extended warranty because of the HVAC, but I think the floor warranty at this point, we've got to get some protection, so we're not on the hook for this floor.
What is, Mike, what is on that Excel sheet, the column that says, subfloor raw? What is that 7.0 to 8 number?
It's a reading of the moisture of the subfloor, which is generally higher than the moisture that's read of the maple typically, right? That's normal. That's just their spot checking, that flow. That's what they're required to do.
Now, Kemp, correct me if I'm wrong, I thought I saw, that the recommended content is no higher than 4% at installation
4% of,
in the slab.
I don't recall, I haven't read that.
The specs do say 4% of vapor transmission rate.
Off the concrete slab?
Yeah.
But recall, we do not have a vapor in the existing slab that we put the floor over that did not have a vapor barrier beneath the slab. So we had to substitute the specified 6 mil plastic vapor barrier with, the Supreme product that we paid, $18,000 for. It's a 3-ply laminate product. It's impenetrable almost, so those moisture readings.
That went on top of the slab.
Right, that goes on top of the slab, yeah.
Okay, but why is the reading still higher than what the recommendation is, even after doing that? And why was it installed on top of it?
Well, the subfloor is installed on top of the vapor barrier.
Well, I know that.
So
But-
why is the slab more relevant at this point?
Well, I'm saying, why was the floor installed when it wasn't between 7 and, when it was 7 to 8 and it's supposed to be 4?
May I suggest, I know this is information that we all exchanged just today, and I think it's important that we just double back and make sure we're all talking about the right things, because there are a lot of layers and components that goes into this floor. They all have very different requirements, they all have very different readings, and something can be misconstrued if we think we say something else. So I don't want to necessarily table it, but I think there's a lot of data, and I think that we should make sure we all understand the data before we just start calling numbers out.
Can I ask for one more thing too? Do you think it's possible that whatever humidistat or whatever was used from the floor and contractors when they installed it, we can get that back? I know you have it on a wall, I know we have it at the unit, but I just think a third eye on this, especially the manufacturers, what they're using for their gauging. Is that possible to get whatever they were using, whether it was a floor mount or something they put on a tripod or something like that, to place in that room so we can monitor that also?
Yeah, I'm thinking that, because they're coming out to
Yeah,
fix that board. We'll ask them, say, listen, the thing you brought out, because what we could at the very least do their deed is, we could calibrate it, right? Have it do a reading, and we can pull a reading off the BMS at the same time, they should be.
It just makes me nervous with thermostats, humidistats, you get, some people think it feels like 70, but it's not 70 and this and that, and I know it's high-tech stuff, but I think a third eye on that, their manufacturer's eye on that, I think would be helpful.
If I may,
Go ahead.
hang on one second, Mario. If I may add, if there's any of your humidity things overnight, I mean, that BMS is likely calibrated to follow room temperature, not room humidity.
No,
So, is it set to humidity or temperature?
It does
think
all.
both.
Well, it'll track both, but which one is it tracking? It'll tell you both. But which one is it set, what's its set program following? Is the program following the temperature or is the program following humidity? When you lose,
It's following.
which
I
program
believe
is?
the primary demand is temperature. The problem
Right.
is, there's nothing in the system right now that if it gets a reading that the humidity is low, the system is incapable of increasing the humidity through.
Adding more
The only way
I
you
get
can
you.
It
change
operates
that
at
is
maintain
if you
temperature.
cool the space
You can,
back down.
you can slightly affect that by modifying your temperature.
Right, but right, and remember too, is you're bringing in 100% outside air.
yeah.
So when, there's no return air, so any moisture you have, it goes out second after second, and you're bringing in incredibly cold air that's sometimes 70 degrees colder than the temperature you're trying to supply. And the only way that you can get that up to the temperature that you need to keep it warm is you bake it, deliver it to the space, and that pulls all the moisture.
No, I totally understand. I'm just saying that the overnight program, that AM, PM readings can be affected by how it handles it overnight.
Right, so currently, I believe there is no night setback mode, I think called for, because I think it's running at 68, it stays at 68.
We might have changed that parameter, but it still goes on a night setback. I think we might have made an adjustment, Mike, you correct me if I'm wrong, especially in the gymnasium, instead of dropping it down at whatever the set point was, I think we dropped it down less, I think.
Yeah, if it fluctuates, it's very little, and that
Yeah.
was one of the ideas of the flooring guy was, well, maybe, can we drop it down a little more, because we're not, but it's,
10
when
to
the weather
30,
is
you
what
can't
is
do a
outside,
temperature. Yeah.
another 4 degrees inside, that's not gonna.
It's not, what you're saying is it's so far out of range. Yeah, if it's 10% relative humidity and you need it for 35, 10 degrees overnight's not going to matter.
Right.
Dave, I gotta ask you this too. I know you said the extreme conditions of this winter. Now, snow-wise, I'll give you that, and I haven't tracked it. So you're telling me temperature-wise, has that been dramatic from our average winters? Our
Absolutely.
Extended duration.
it was extended, so it was a longer period of time.
Of
Typically it goes
below
up and down.
average temperatures.
This is,
What other schools did the two firms do, Slam and O&G? Have you done other gymnasiums last fall? And how did they react to this winter that supposedly is so bad?
Well, I think you could ask the same question of the middle school floor. I mean, the middle school floor hasn't seen these issues, right? It's just, so to Jay's point earlier, not taking away any of the seriousness of the splintering and, the safety aspects of it, those just need to get fixed. But if you look at the number of instances, and I did a little count last night about edge board feet of the boards, right? Your floor is made up of 2 1/4 inch wide boards. And each one of them is 105 feet long, and there's, 700 boards across the thing. And you do the math, it's like the amount of edges that have had a problem is about 0.007% of the floor area. Or the board edges.
Well,
That's a great number, but nobody cares.
What I'm saying is, just you gotta think about it in perspective, because there are some issues that need to get corrected, no doubts about it, but it's a very, very small amount of the floor.
But to go back to your original, when you started off, the middle school, we're not seeing it.
But the middle school was still that was done before the winter.
Finished in the fall, occupied in January, so there was, 3-4 months where there wasn't any use on it. And we're talking about a high school gym that finished in November, encountered a harsh winter immediately. In the first year of its infancy of the floor, it's gonna be reacting a lot.
And it was a different winter, last winter than it was this winter.
Yeah, but
Yeah, we
the
had
middle
50
school
degrees
gym
in
went through the
summer.
same winter that the high school gym just went through.
Right, but it went through it a year later. No matter what, every single time we've installed a gym floor, it is essentially a living, breathing thing. I mean, it's a natural product.
Okay.
Anyone that tells you that the first winter that they have a gym, that they don't have some creaks and things like that, that is what happens.
Did you install any other courts in the fall? Either companies?
No,
No.
not this past fall.
Okay, so let's talk about owners signing off on the floor. What's the process for that? And who did it? And why did we do it if the humidity was never right and we know the floor was gonna be compromised?
I'm not sure what you're asking.
I'm asking who in the ownership pool signed off on the floor?
We solicited a warranty from substantial completion like the specification tells us to.
I think what is,
Who signed off on it? Who did?
on installing it when it was out of spec. That's what you're asking, right,
Well,
Mario?
hold on.
The installation
We don't,
That's what he's asking.
I know,
That's
but
what
I'm
he's
just saying,
asking.
before we start saying in this meeting that it was not installed per spec, I think that's not the case. We're not at that point where we have a floor that was not installed per spec. And there may be speculation, but before things like that are thrown out, let's,
Dave, there's an explanation for it, right? And it's minor and it's only a couple boards. But to Dean's point, you got a warranty that's rolling along. And if the same thing happens next year, because you're wrong, maybe it wasn't an extreme winter, maybe it's an inferior product, whatever, maybe the installation's not right, whatever the case may be, you guys are gone on different schools and Dean's down there putting putty on the floor to cover up cracks. So it's a big deal to us. Not for nothing. We've been on the wrong side of some of this warranty crap. It always favors the contractors. Always. There's always this, there's always that, but you did this, you shouldn't have done that. But at the same time now, you're telling me you allowed, not you personally, you allowed the installation of a wood floor in a gymnasium that could not support, the air couldn't support the ongoing play on top of it.
Mario, we installed the specified floor to its requirements. Okay?
Okay, and what about the air? What
The air,
What are we saying? It's so, let's get the floor in, but it doesn't matter if the air doesn't meet the requirements?
I would say a majority of I would say this happens more times than not, correct me if I'm wrong, Kemp, right? Certain materials have certain requirements for them, but the overall building systems, I bet there are certain materials in our buildings that they have temperature, humidity requirements that the permanent building systems are not capable of meeting.
Like the millwork.
Right.
Right.
Because we don't, right, you don't design, we don't build, we don't put those systems into buildings for that.
Yeah, I mean,
And these floors and surfaces or materials, they last in these buildings for decades. This floor is going to continue to need maintenance, you know that, it's gonna need refinishing, and especially with water-based, because you can't use oil-based anymore, that makes the difference. The surface of a water-based finished floor that's mandated because of sustainability standards, it's a much more rigid floor surface. Oil finishes, they see, essentially when you put water-based, it kind of like glues the surface together, which is why you see those little jagged things on there. And the water-based finishes, they require refinishing very often. It's not like before where you do it and then you touch it in 5 or 7 years. I think the recommendation is like every 2 years.
So is that why there's so much flex in the floor? You're telling me is because there's not an oil finish holding it together?
Oh, no. But I think, and this is just kind of in what I've been reading, is that my point with the water-based versus the oil-based Dean was that the oil-based kind of takes each of the boards and it penetrates into those boards, right? And gyms of yesteryear, they would get that orangish color and they were built up. The water-based does not go so much in, it goes over the top. So as you have two boards, that water-based finish creates a hard span over it that
Cracks.
it moves any bit. It cracks. It doesn't have the ability to move as freely. But, you know, as the floors over time, it bridges that gap. I mean, they have, you know, there's floors I was reading that it was an older floor that looked stable. They sanded it and then put a new finish on it, and then it started to move because you're opening it up.
Cap, you were about to say that you haven't done it in years. What, put humidity in buildings?
In all of the 20 years, 30 years that I've been doing these projects, we have never put humidity
Back in the buildings.
Right. And I doubt you had it in the previous gym, and the floor was there for however many years it was there. It's just, it's the first year, it has to acclimate to its surroundings. It has been a very dry winter, so the RH has been.
So we have no,
That being the case, then no one should have a problem extending our warranty.
No, I'm not.
Well,
I don't know
I'm
if
not
we
sure
can
we
say
can make
that.
that statement because, you know, the contract requirements are from substantial completion is when warranties start.
And owner's approval.
I think the owner signed the substantial completion form. But not to say that everybody's walking away, Mario. We're going to be here to help get through this system or this problem. There are two warranties. There's a manufacturer's warranty for the system itself, and then there's the installer's warranty, which is also a year long. And they've been.
how long is the manufacturer's warranty?
1 year.
1 year.
1 year, starting last November.
Okay.
And the contractor's been cooperating and coming back and taking care of the
Yeah,
issues.
and we have a meeting next week with everybody on the gym floor.
Yeah.
So we can report back at the next meeting with a report on what's happening.
You guys seem to think the board moving might have been an innocent mistake, and it might have been. But how will we ever know?
We're gonna know because I've directed them, they're gonna go out there and they're gonna inspect that floor next week. I told you that already, Mario.
Dave, I know what you told me.
Well, do you not trust me?
Listen to me. How do you know if they put fasteners in as often as they were supposed to? How do you know? Would it be the first time a tradesperson skimped on their work?
And they made what, as of right now, Mario, it looks like they made a mistake on one board in there. Mike and I spent an hour in there yesterday looking around at stuff. I was trying to move boards around. I'm gonna send the trade back through. Stuff happens. It's not perfect, but you can't take one incident and all of a sudden think that you have this lemon of a floor. You can't cast aspersions like that.
I think the splintering, right, started this, and it's happening in other locations, right? And this separation just magnifies.
No, listen, we're right here. We were right there. We're not walking away from anything. You know that.
Splintering, in my opinion, is, as Dave was saying, the water-based sealants, they create what's called edge bonding. And then when the floors move, when it dries out and the floors shrink a bit, that edge bonding can, you've all seen it. Sometimes the glue is stronger than the material that you're gluing in certain cases. I think that's what's causing some of these splintering in certain spots. And that just needs to get addressed. And
So you think after a year, and I know you don't want to belabor this to death, but you think after a year, once the acclimation is done, we're not going to see the splintering anymore. That's what your feel is. It's because it's the first year, it's such a harsh winter, we're going to go through a humid summer right now, we're going to dehumidify the air, we're going to be at one level, and next year at this time, the splintering should stop because there's less movement. Why?
Because it's had a year or two. It's had a year or two truly. I mean, they talk about it acclimates, right? And they say you got to bring it in 10 days, however many days before. But it's really, I mean, think about it. It's a tree in the woods for how long, right? Then it went to some factory, and then it got rushed out to the job, and it takes time. I mean, it's going to take a year.
The way I look at it is, the floor was brand new in November, right? Put sealer over the top of the whole thing. Any edge bonding that was going to occur then. The floor has to kind of settle in, right? Has to kind of move, flex, expand, contract a little bit, and then it should calm itself down.
The idea, Dean, being that the edge bond, the breakage that occurs from that edge bonding will have gone through that cycle over this winter.
Right.
And any time where the edge bond was greater strength than the material strength, it will have started to rip. Could it happen again in other areas a little bit here and there? Nobody could promise us that it wouldn't.
Right.
At the same time, I'm glad to see that the vendor's coming back out and is standing behind it in this issue.
And listen, come next November, if the warranty is to November, if something happens in December, call us, we'll call the floor guy and we'll come out. But I think that, those, like you said, if there's a little weakness in the board and the bond is what broke that free, it's likely not gonna happen again. If it does, we'll fix it.
There's also a condition called run-out grain, which is the way the wood is milled. And they try to weed those out when they put the wood in the packages to send them out. I mean, all wood manufacturers weed those things out. It's conceivable, I haven't seen them, but it's conceivable. This is more of a fabrication from the milling process where those particular boards have some exposed end grain or some splintering, and it just wasn't weeded out in the factory. So there are a number of factors that could be causing this, and I wouldn't say it's a systemic problem for the whole floor based on what I've heard. So there could be other reasons other than just humidity that could be causing it.
Problem with humidity, and again, I'm gonna stop after I say this, we're not gonna fix it. If we're not ever gonna put humidity in the air, we're never gonna fix it. We could have a really cold can't next year that our heating system can't keep up with. That's based on outside air design, right? I mean, I had no problem keeping up, but you're telling me the extreme of this winter is the root cause of it. And the problem is,
And
that
the
may
fact
happen the next 10 years down the road.
And the fact that we have no ability to add humidity to the air.
Right,
Well, and the fact that it's a brand new floor.
brand new floor.
I've got my house is 100 years old, I've got wood floors everywhere, I don't have any humidity in my system, it's just a heating system. And, those floors have moved around and I can see that there are some boards that the edges splintered off over the years. And, it takes time for the floor to kind of settle in.
And
Dave. I think if you sat in my shoes and got a text message pretty much every day, including today, about a blemish on the floor, a crack in the floor, a board moving, you'd be a little aggravated as well. Okay? And then you say, well, we'll be back in a year to fix it. At what charge? No charge? Right now you're telling me there's not going to be a charge. If you have to come back this time next year to fix something.
If I've got to bring a flooring guy out there to fix a couple splinters next year, put it on my tab,
Yeah.
okay? Or don't believe me, it's fine.
All I'm saying is we're always on the wrong side of these warranty things.
Well, listen, warranties are, if you think that warranties are an ironclad way of always getting everything you want forever, you're misled. Warranties are, if your only hope is to rely upon a warranty, I think you're putting your hope in the wrong thing. There's so much fine print in warranties that.
Well, what do we put hope in then, Dave? I mean, I'm gonna be honest with you.
Listen, the fact that we do these things all the time, Dean, we build hundreds of schools and have been doing it for a century, and that we know what happens. We know some things happen, we stand by it, we make sure.
Where has this happened?
What?
Where has this last occurred?
I don't know, I'm sure, I would be surprised if we haven't had an issue of a splinter on a board and a gym floor in the history of us putting gym floors in. I doubt this is the first time this has ever happened.
It's not a splinter. It's not a splinter.
It's four splinters.
More than 4, but anyway.
Okay, wow.
And again, some of them are larger than splinters.
No, there's one that's a big one. Yeah,
It's not a splinter.
yeah. No, I
mean, what's it gonna take? A kid sliding across the floor, shish kebabbing himself?
again, that is a thing that's something happened with that, right?
Yeah.
We're going to fix it.
Okay.
The gym is 3 months old. We're gonna fix it. We have not said we're not gonna fix it. I don't know what else you want us to say here, but if you think that these few splinters are gonna deem us ripping a gym floor out, that's ridiculous.
Mike, you had something?
Yeah, I appreciate what you're saying, I totally disagree with your last comment there. I don't think that was necessary because, you know, this committee has worked really hard and the community has worked really hard. And you just said something before, Kevin, your floors were 100 years old and that hasn't happened. And I know, I've been in schools a long time and gym floors, that hasn't happened to. So the fact that it happened, something was amiss. Something happened. I'm not saying you, I'm not saying the air, I'm not saying the solar, but you guys are on the call here because Mario and Ed, you guys are the ones that are responsible, right? So we have to figure out what happened. The fact that we have duct tape in a brand new gym is embarrassing, period. If I came and did your floors in your house and had to put duct tape on holes, you'd be pretty pissed. So what I'm saying is we should have a perfect product, period. So if you think fixing the spots is gonna make it quote unquote perfect, the question, and I heard from Dean, I heard from Mario, and time again, perfect for how long? Because yeah, what happens next year, I think you're a man of your word, I don't have a problem, I think you'll come back. In 2 years it happens again, 3 years, 4 years. Then what? Was it a lemon? Did something happen? Was it a miss in the install? To talk about vapor barriers and reading 8% when it's supposed to be 4, and you put the Cadillac down that's impenetrable, that's where I think Mario was going earlier. Don't know, you guys still have to investigate that, that's up to you guys. But to say that we get what we get, that's not true. And let me finish, please, right? So whether you're gonna come back every year from now until 30 years, it shouldn't happen. I get what you're saying, I know floors have to acclimate, that's why you're supposed to bring it in X days before, let it get used to the temperature before you even lay it. Right, so hopefully that was done the right way, I don't know, was it done with those walls still not put up? Was the wood there, was it all done, was it all sealed? Was there heating, was there proper stuff in there? That's all stuff, to Ed's point, you guys have to have a meeting about. But to say we have to accept a product that is damaged and to say, well, it's only 4 areas, it's only a certain percentage, it should be perfect. I think you guys have worked too hard, this committee has worked too hard, everyone has worked too hard to say, wow, this is great with holes in it, and Dean's gotta go, and Mario's gotta go every day to look at the damages. That one piece that's this big ripped out, that's an embarrassment, that should have never happened. I don't care if it's a glue, I don't care whatever issue, shouldn't have ripped out a piece of gym flooring like that, I've never seen that in my life. And I've been in a million gyms. And I can tell you, and I don't wanna put Mr. Kisk on the spot, he was a former teacher who's been in gyms as well, I don't think he's ever seen a piece like that. So to say that it happens, this is an anomaly in my experience, and I'm only gonna speak for myself. You know, I coached basketball for 20 years, so I can tell you I've been in a million gyms, I've never seen a floor like that. So it's gotta get fixed, yes. And to Mario's point, who's gonna keep fixing it? And at what point did something happen? So I hope at that meeting, and that's why I wanted to share, that it gets figured out. And if it is a problem, for you to say we're not gonna rip out a floor for X problem, hold the phone, let's have the meeting first, because if it was a miss somewhere along the line, we need to clean up the mess, fix it, and fix it the right way so we don't have to worry about it when we're at the meeting again.
I understand your point. I never once said that you were to accept it the way it is now. We are here, we have been here, we are actively working on figuring out what is going on and how to fix it. We have stood by that from day one. So we have never, nor will we ever, force you to accept something that's not acceptable. It's just not how we do business. So I want to make sure that's perfectly clear.
Well, we'll have that meeting next week, and then we'll give a report to the committee in April, like we always do. Yes, Steph?
There's still been, I don't know if this was part of the floor thing, but there's still been chatter that it's uncomfortable in the building for humans. It's too dry. Is that done and over with, or can that be addressed? I'm not there, so I'm going to what people say, but that it's too dry in the building. It's not unlivable. It's just too dry. Is that done? That part of it's done. That's not. I mean, that's done and finished. It meets specs.
There's no fix to that,
can't-
Doug. The humidity is not in the building, we have no way to put water in the building.
Okay.
Aside from local humidifiers, if someone, sorry, never mind, can't do that.
No. And I'm not a meteorologist, and if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. I would consider this average. I mean, for Southern New England, we got 2 whoppers. You know, it was cold. We got 2 big ones. That seems about right for a winter. I wouldn't call this extreme. So I mean, if people are uncomfortable now in a quote unquote normal winter, but again, if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. I don't know where the metrics fall as far as this being an extreme winter, worse than average. I thought it's been cold for sure, it sucked. And we haven't had one like this in a while, but I would say that 2 big storms, that's about right for southern New England, in the hills.
But it's a temperature.
Yeah, it's been
It's not
cold.
snow,
But
it's
we've had winters where for 3 solid weeks, it's barely above 0. We didn't have that.
It's been a long time.
Yeah,
No, it has, but,
Yeah,
but I don't, yeah, to your point, you're right. It's been a long winter. The extremity of the temperature drop hasn't been there. I mean, it's been cold, but it has been below 0, right? I mean, we've had it below, but anyway. You're right. I don't know.
Part of the balancing process and the commissioning looks at outside air percentages.
Yeah.
And it would be, I haven't seen the last report. If you bring in outside air, depends on when you're bringing it in, you're bringing in very dry air.
Yeah.
So one of the ways to mitigate that is to go down to the code minimum amount of outside air. You're recirculating more humid, our breath is humid. So you're able to maintain.
So how, is that something that we did,
That's
Jen?
being done as part of the commissioning and balancing process.
Yeah.
To look at the damper positions for the
But
outside.
that wasn't done during the winter. During this
Well,
winter, we just.
I heard, Dave, you were saying that the outside air unit, the air handlers for the gym were running at 100% outside
Right.
air.
I know it was
That's-
designed to, but did we make that adjustment, Mikey? Did we make that adjustment in the middle of winter to get the bare minimum, the code minimum for outside air instead of full 100%?
I don't have an answer.
Okay, so is that a solution to, maybe we should look at to make an adjustment where if we don't need 100% fresh air in, why are we bringing in? Why aren't we going with a code minimum? Everything else is usually a code minimum.
When you're flushing out a building, you run it at 100%. When you
Right.
have certain occupancies, you run it at 100%. But once you've gone through the flushing process.
Yeah,
Again, I need to look at the sequence of operation.
Okay.
But in most cases, air handlers will operate with a variable outside air.
what's the percentage per code now?
What, 10% now?
I don't know. I'd have to talk to
I don't take that verbatim, but
We're at 100?
sometimes you run at 100 in certain occupancies. If you have a lab, if you have maybe a workshop.
Okay. It might be worth investigating that,
CES has the trending data that was supplied to us, they're looking at it,
okay?
and, I think that they've asked for some additional information from the BMS. We're working on getting that information so they can look at it with a finer tooth look, because there was some
Meaning,
discrepancies.
meaning asking for more points of data.
For more
to
points of
analyze, like, the multi-layer points.
But it just seems odd to me that if the code is 10
Don't take me at 10.
or 20,
And-
and we're at 100, is that because we weren't balanced already? I
No, and even with that, like, the 100, like, that, again,
mean, that's a kitchen, right? I would
but
assume.
my point is the 100, maybe it wasn't 100, maybe it was 80%. I
Oh, okay,
just,
okay,
I guess my point is, right.
okay.
Now, given the conversation, I probably should have qualified that before I said any percentages, 'cause I don't specifically know, but I know that there are some either rooms or spaces or times of the day that the outside air is.
Well, I think a deeper
We're getting
investigation.
all the data, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
We're just now
I got you.
throwing out stuff,
Yeah.
right, which could be right, could be wrong. Doug, I'm in that building almost every day, okay? So let's get the data, like we always do, we'll give a report, right? That's it. Just like now, Kemp, we asked them to get a report for the elevator, he has the report, okay? So let's go on, Kemp, why don't you do your thing?
You all done, Mike?
I'm all set. Thank you.
All right, Mario, you should have this, I think I copied you in an email earlier. Passed out the memo. Okay, so we were asked to put together a report about the controls for the elevator number 1 with regard to the Board of Ed space, as well as some of the other security protocols. that were in the original bid documents compared to what was in PR 85, was the recent PR that we put together to add some security provisions to keep the school occupancy separate from the Board of Ed occupancy. So the way I've organized this is page 1 and 2 are what was in the original documents. And I put a little clip of the floor plan to show you, and these are the the security floor plans. So you can see that we had a card reader, the little CR symbol with the 1 in the hexagon adjacent to the elevator. That's a card reader that was put on the outside of the elevator and in that vestibule for the entrance into the Board of Ed. And then the keynote for that one, we had specified that the elevator shall be able to be called from the vestibule without activation of the card reader. And then if the card reader is engaged with qualified credential, the elevator can travel to any floor. If the card reader is not engaged, the elevator can only travel to the 4th floor. That was the original spec. And then coordinate the above functionality with the elevator contractor and include licenses from the access control. Going to the second page, at the top, 4th floor. On the corridor 4000, you had no door contacts nor card readers at the doors 4 ST1, which were the doors going into the stair number 1. But we do have cameras in both those locations. At door 4000, which is the double egress door between the school and the Board of Ed suite, we had door contacts at that location, and that was the intent behind that was to monitor the door position and alert security if anybody crossed that perimeter, one way or the other. That was the plan. And then the specified door hardware for all 3 of the doors in question were standard panic hardware. Everybody have the understanding of the baseline. So as we went through construction, it was determined that it was desired to have greater control at those doors upstairs. And through coordination, we realized that the card reader for the elevator needed to be in the cab to actually get the functionality that we had specified. So when we put together the PR 85, we expanded on the keynote number 1 to be much more specific to the functionality of how people can be controlled to go onto one floor versus another. So when you come into vestibule 1016, which is that entrance for the Board of Ed, anybody can call the elevator cab and you can get in, but if you don't have a credential, it's only going to go to the 4th floor. And you would have to present that credential in the cab if you wanted to stop at any of the other floors, 1, 2, or 3. And then the same functionality coming down. So if the elevator is called to the 4th floor in corridor 4000, you can get into the cab and it will only go down to the 1st floor and exit through vestibule 1016, unless you present a credential to go somewhere else. So that was how that functionality was modified as part of this PR 85. In addition to the elevator controls, we also added door contacts at doors 1016B at the lowest level. And that's the door between stair number 1 and vestibule 1016. Because we wanted to monitor if anybody left that stairwell and went into the elevator vestibule for the Board of Ed entrance. We also added a camera to be able to get the face of someone facing the elevator. We had a camera outside the building coming into the Board of Ed entrance vestibule, but we didn't have one inside the vestibule. So we added that camera as well.
Before you go on, and I'm sorry if I missed this, so I'm a visitor. I don't have a credential. but I can still access the elevator.
Yes.
And I can go to floor 4.
Only.
Okay, so what's the security?
You can't get in the door, right? You can't get
So
into
you-
the entry door without
So
somebody
you can
buzzing
just
away.
be in that hallway?
So the sequence is this, there's what's called an A-phone outside. So the outside door is locked. You
Right.
can push the button, call up to the admin,
Oh, okay.
and then they buzz you into the vestibule.
Okay, and then you can get into the
And it's a
elevator.
secure vestibule, and then you can call up the elevator
Got it, okay,
and go up to the 4th floor only.
okay, got it, thank you.
Unless you have a key card
Yeah.
with credentials, then you could stop at floors 1, 2, or 3
Yeah.
if you have appropriate credentials.
And is it just Board of Ed members that have those credentials, no teachers or?
That's not for me to say. The system will
That's
allow.
programmed through Rachel.
Yes, too.
Yeah.
Yeah. We just wanted to make sure that the functionality was what you needed. So that was added security provisions at vestibule 1016 through PR 85. You go to page 4 of the memo. Up at the 4th floor, we're now talking about door hardware and door contacts and card readers. So what we added for the doors that are exiting from corridor 4000, which is the Board of Ed suite corridor system, into stair number 1, and from stair number 1 into the corridor, we put delayed egress mag locks on those doors and card readers from both sides. So if a teacher was to go up or a student was to go up to the top of the to the 4th floor of stair number 1, they would not be able to get in to the corridor without a card reader. Similarly, if someone came up in the elevator into corridor 4000 and decided to short circuit and try and go into the stair to get into the school, they would not be able to do that because they have delayed egress hardware on there. It would delay the opening of that door by 30 seconds, and it would have an audible alarm. So if somebody hit the crash bar, an audible alarm would sound, the door would stay shut for up to 30 seconds before it would open.
Explain that last one again, I'm sorry.
So if someone coming into corridor 4000, which is that corridor in Board of Ed space,
Yep,
and decided to try and short circuit and go into the school
yep,
or into that stairwell,
okay,
the hardware is now a delayed egress crash bar. So you can push it, but the door won't open. It'll count for 30 seconds before that mag lock will release. And at the same time, it'll have an audible alarm.
gotcha.
So somebody will hear that alarm and be alerted that somebody's trying to.
So the alarm is local?
It's a local audible alarm, yeah. We've also added door contacts on those doors. So we would also alert the security personnel if that door actually
Gotcha,
gets open.
okay. So if you're in that corridor and so when you push it, right, is there a way to retract? In other words, oh, no, I shouldn't have done that. Once you pushed it,
Once
it's
you push
pushed.
it, the audible alarm's
The auto alarm's gonna go
has
off,
to be reset with the key,
and that won't open for 20 seconds,
30 seconds.
30 seconds. So that's in case we need to get out. We hit it,
Correct,
it's gonna hold closed position for 30 seconds, then it's gonna open up.
right. And part of this PR was also to put a decal on the door to say, this is a delayed egress door.
So will there be a card reader there if we wanted to go out those doors?
If you had credentials, you could hit the card reader and it would
And you
allow
can
free
go out the
access
doors, both down the stairwell and the other way?
both ways.
Okay,
And that's the hallway coming out of the elevator,
Yes,
not the door going into the Board of Ed suite.
correct.
Okay.
There is a card reader for the door going into the Board of Ed
That's
suite as
gonna
well.
Right, right,
So you are
You're
kind of
talking
isolated
about
in that
that.
corridor.
okay.
And so we also have signage on the doors that just alerts people. If you do push it, it's gonna
Yeah.
sound an alarm.
yeah.
So,
So the other side of the corridor, student side, to get into those doors, card reader to get us in also.
yep, but it also has a delayed egress
But
function.
Oh, is that a panic on the other side?
It's panic both directions because they're double egress doors.
Okay. So that would have a potential more, I would say, if a kid hits that, right?
Yeah.
They'll get in
They won't get in for 30 seconds.
for 30 seconds.
And the audible alarm will go too. on
Okay.
that. And there's also a sign on that door that
Yeah.
says.
And you added a camera to catch it right there also. Right, added a camera, we had one there.
Cameras were always
They
there.
were there, yeah. So the added is highlighted here,
Addeds are highlighted,
yeah,
yep.
okay.
All right, so jump to page 5. As I mentioned, we added signage. So the red panel signs on this drawing at the top are what we added. So we added panel signs in stair 1 at the landing, at landings 1, 2, and 3. As you're going up the stairs, we put the sign saying there is no access to the 4th floor during normal business hours, to tell people to not go all the way up to the 4th floor, because they'll just be at a dead end.
So what does that mean? When you say normal business hours?
It's just telling students, don't use this stair to try to get to the 4th floor.
Okay,
You'll have to go to a different stair. And then the other two signs, the one on the left-hand side of this image and the right-hand side of this image are the decal signs that we have on the doors, as I just mentioned.
okay,
Does that make sense?
I think so.
I know this other part, door hardware revisions for both, we already talked about what it is, the delayed egress door hardware, to the mag locks. I just took a picture of the specification that we modified to make that happen.
And our local authorities are good with this?
Yes,
Yeah.
yeah, we talked to the fire marshal and the building official, because everybody should know, the code does not allow delayed egress in an educational use. But because this is actually a business use, Board of Ed space, they allowed it. And these are also tied to the fire alarm, so if the fire alarm ever activated, everything's free access. Everything, you don't have the delayed function any longer.
Okay.
All right, and the last bit on page 6, the last bullet. As part of that code requirement for delayed egress, there needs to be a key switch for first responders use located in the fire alarm control panel on the 1st floor to shunt those delayed egress maglock functions in the event of emergency. They want to have total control of that. So that was also put into this. So the final page is just kind of my summary of how this all transpired during the course of construction and administration. The elevator number 1 sequence of operations based on the original bidding documents, and coordination meetings were held between the security and elevator contractors, and it was understood that the elevator would have the following sequence of operations, where the elevator button on the 1st floor always calls the elevator, but only for access to the 4th floor. And if a fob is presented at the card reader, which was in the original documents located in the vestibule 1016, then the elevator is called for any floor can be accessed. It didn't work quite the way we thought it was going to work. When we had the second coordination meeting is when we realized that card reader needed to be in the cab. So that one that was in the vestibule 1016 got moved into the cab. And then the door hardware, as I mentioned, we originally had standard panic hardware for those 2 doors up on the 4th floor. And that was based on coordination during the original design process. And we were simply monitoring those doors with contacts from the school into the Board of Ed suite. And then the last paragraph is just describing that we had this coordination with the HJs and agreed to put in the delayed egress function. And then the last 2 pages are just an excerpt from the elevator spec, the original programming operations, if you are so inclined to read through that. Does that ever answer everybody's questions? Questions about?
I just had, and I was bouncing off of Rachel too, so in our lockdown, how does that affect the sequence anyway? Where,
I don't think it would affect anything, because this is all tied into the fire alarm.
okay, yeah, so it's all tied in there, so it should, that's,
I believe when lockdown's activated, the card readers are disabled. They don't allow any credentials at all.
Okay, if that's the case, then those would also be disabled, so you have to just stay in place.
Right, okay.
Yeah.
I guess I have a question here about the sequencing here on page 7. So I guess with the original apprentices that were for these doors, we obviously, like you said, you proved it wasn't possible for the way it was originally called out. I guess I'm just trying to make sense of the order of operations here in terms of when we're designing this project. You go through these steps, like, is this piece of equipment capable of doing X, Y, and Z? Clearly that proved not to be the case. I'm just trying to wonder, I'm new in the board here, so I'm trying to figure out and double back here, but wouldn't that be, I'm just trying to figure out why we're paying for that, if that's something that was essentially a design error, from how I understand it.
Yeah, I wouldn't look at it as a design error. We coordinated with folks during design, and we were under the impression that it could be done.
So to further up that point, if it does say here that the elevator and security vendor have met about this and agreed that that was supposed to be the order of operations, and then at a second follow-up meeting, it was decided that that wouldn't work according to the verbiage here in front of us. So if they all met initially and said this is how it's going to work, why did the vendors not, between themselves, figure this out back in the beginning? This has been a long-standing discussion on this topic. And I get it, it's a small portion of the change order, Kemp. The door contact stuff, it may have been mentioned before, but it wasn't designed that way. The elevator, according to this, was designed to function this way in the beginning.
Yeah, it's a good question. I would have to talk to some other folks about those. I was not in those coordination meetings, the original ones.
I did, maybe to add, Mike, I asked this question last time about the cost, and you guys were gonna check and see, how that all panned out. How did that pan out then? Because you guys had this before we do now, so what did the vendors say, since they coordinated on this before we even started and agreed that was supposed to be the order of operations? I get it when somebody meets and, hey, in the beginning, this isn't gonna work, we gotta change it. But these guys met and then didn't realize it wasn't going to work until months later. So somebody thought that their quote and their estimate was accurate. They spoke about it once.
Steve, he was the coordinator, he was the guy, he's the IT guy.
Yeah.
So I have to talk to him, I did not talk to him.
That's all.
Yeah, I can ask Nick about that.
Yeah, yes.
But to answer your question about what portion of this cost is elevator programming, I believe it's about $5,000 for the elevator reprogramming. And then there's probably a little bit for moving that card reader into the cab.
Well, you're buying a camera, you're buying 3 card readers, you're buying 2 door contacts, you're buying 2 control blades. That equals $16,870.
Right,
And you have labor for that. You also have fire tech who has to addressable system, okay?
Right.
You have PDC doing some of that work. You have the signage, he's gonna 1213, and then you have Coney, the elevator operator. The elevator has to do his work
For the programming.
for the programming.
Right. The programming, look, we pay for, this committee is very good. You approve the things that need to be paid for, and we may disagree about them, but you guys always come to a solution. In this particular case, this is one of those few times when it's obvious, like, this was supposed to work this way in the beginning, even according to the documents you guys provided tonight. So I find it hard to believe the elevator person would charge us, and some of these extra charges for this, a portion of that change order, I would have a problem paying for. Look, it's a $55,000 change order. 8,000 of it will say is related to the elevator piece, and all that elevator piece, moving things in the cab, that really isn't our problem. I mean, it was designed that way, it was spec'd that way, they spoke about it that way, and then it didn't work afterwards. I mean, if I install a product and it doesn't work the way I said it was, the customer's not usually thrilled about me going to them and saying, hey, you have to pay more for this now because what I sold you isn't going to work, and that would never really fly on my side, so. Just my 2 cents about it, and I'll let you guys move on.
For what it's worth, I was in all those meetings too, way back when, and he's accurate. We expected it to work that way, remember, Robin?
I do, and I know a lot of people questioned us on it, and I'm like, well, it wasn't supposed to be the way it is now, it was supposed to be.
Right, it was always supposed to be the way that you just described it. I mean, that was our understanding, our takeaway, that was what we originally requested for all the obvious reasons, right? And so it's been a huge frustration, I don't have to go into that here, and anybody who works on the 4th floor or visits the 4th floor can say, I mean, it's a huge disruption to not have it work the way we thought it would.
This work is moving forward, Mike, right?
It is, yeah, the first activity in this whole thing's happening next week during one of the PD days. We're gonna put the camera, low voltage drop the camera in the vestibule on the 1st floor. So we'll get that patched in total. And then April break is when, the rest of this work's gonna happen that Saturday before it. I think April break's on the 13th, so that Saturday on the 10th, I think. From the 10th, we'll be working all the way till that following Saturday on the 8th to get it ready for everybody back on that Monday.
They were there today for a service, by the way.
It was service?
Yeah, it was, thank you.
John, you have anything?
Just very little. There's very little on the testing and inspection, but there was a startup report for the rooftop chillers that's been reviewed and submitted, reviewed, and approved. No deficiencies were noted. Heat recovery unit, which serves the high school locker room, that was also submitted. The startup report was submitted, reviewed, and approved with no deficiencies. And then the air and hydronic circuit setting balancing report has been submitted for review. I would imagine that they've looked at the last version and went through and adjusted the values that were noted. So that's with the engineer getting reviewed now. That's it.
John. Next one is application for payment. It's for $1,052,262.40. And you have a detail with each one, as I always do, each one, who gets paid and what. Have a motion to approve that figure. Robin? Have a second? Doug? Thank you. Discussion, all in favor? Aye, opposed? You're up.
PCOs, I'll start with 641R1 as the normal contingency cost of $13,175. So we have rooftop HVAC units on this project, as you all know, that have exterior roof-mounted ductwork. Contractually, the sheet metal subcontractor, who is a subcontractor to the HVAC contractor, was supposed to be providing these non-roof penetrating ballasted supports that carry, the horizontal and the vertical runs of the ductwork. Instead of providing those non-roof penetrating supports, we had the sheet metal sub provided these rigid duct support curves that actually get affixed into the roofing system with blocking, and it's all flashed together with TPO membrane. The reasoning for providing the rigid duct support in lieu of the ballasted support was supported in literature by the ductwork manufacturer, the weather-resistant specified ductwork manufacturer. So the monetary impact here is a little significant because you're taking a lesser cost in a non-penetrating ballasted support and you're replacing it with a rigid duct support curve that's more pricey. And that needed to introduce the roofer to install blocking for it and then flash in the membrane. In this PCO, I included a back charge to the HVAC contractor who absorbed the upcharge in material for the change in the stands because they didn't ask the question and they didn't submit on it. And they also are sharing 50% of the roofer's labor cost to install the blocking and the membrane itself. The idea behind the back charge is also that, the HVAC contractor in a sense overbuilt, the amount of rooftop duct curb stands that they really needed to, because less supports are needed now that you're fixed into the roof versus them not penetrating the roof. So they overbuilt it, but with that, you as the owner, you're getting a product that's fixed in place, it's better, it's, more performance based, and, it's permanently flashed into your roof system as well. So the balance of that $13K was assigned to the owner contingency. PCO 710 is an owner contingency cost of $3,108. If you recall, there is a CNC machine room located off of the lower level construction tech and engineering labs. And it has an owner purchased CNC machine. This machine was provided with a localized dust collector, separate than the one that we provided throughout the project. We provided 2 systems, but this one's just a localized one to the CNC machine only. That required some electrical circuitry and some plumbing connections for a vacuum pump. PCO 716 is an owner contingency cost of $15,682 in the area around the tennis courts and the football field bleachers. The site work contractor alerted us all of a grading issue when they were in that area where the existing grade that they had tried to match to was about 5 inches higher than where the new adjacent sidewalks were meeting up to. We reviewed it further with SLAN and we got some new drainage drawings, some little Nioplast drains we got to install, and, raising some catch basins, some new grading, cutting in old catch basins to install some drainage piping and parking around those structures. PCO 721 is an owner contingency cost of $81,908. Back in October, I had advised this group of the grading issue we had previously just spoke to in PCO 716, and kind of how that had a domino effect and impact on the varsity baseball field anchor curb, which is what this cost is. After we got the revised drainage and grading drawings, Liberty Landscaping is performing all the work underneath the turf. Raised another follow-up question that, a section of anchor curb, was going from 18 inches exposed all the way up to 34 inches exposed. So, they're reading the change. Good question by them because it generated, a response from SLAN after we had submitted an RFI that pretty much changed the design of the anchor curb that was supposed to be there along that 130-foot run. We went from a lower profile anchor curb only, for the purpose of anchoring synthetic turf to, a 130-foot long, 6.5-foot tall retaining wall anchor curb with a 4-foot wide spread footing. So there's a large discrepancy there in material and labor for the concrete, which is a majority of this cost. PCO 746 is an owner contingency cost of $56,565. This is a scope buyout that you have not previously seen for the access ramp part of the athletic field change that brings you from the middle school parking lot all the way to the backside of the varsity baseball field. The original design, PR 87, had actually called for stainless steel rails with posts and handrails. When we were getting pricing through General Welding, our Miss Metals guy, stainless came in well over the budget. So what we had proposed here and what we had proceeded with is to provide Schedule 40 pipe. That's primer galvanized and it gets painted with this high performance exterior paint by the painting contractor.
Is that 746 or 748?
Yeah, that was a typo on the agenda. It should be 746. That brings us to 747. It's a partial trade back charge and a CM contingency draw of $3,209. So this is for the painter to remove some excessive rust on the stair metals in the high school and middle school after them being exposed to the outside elements for too long. Eventually, if it's outside for too long, the primer, gets worn away and you've got to reapply it. Where we failed the Zone G is we did not notify the miscellaneous metals contractor that, the metals needed to be re-prepped to receive the paint. And the painting contractor had concluded on their behalf. They had told us, hey, we're going to do this. We got to get this stuff painted. And we never notified Miss Metals. In the essence of moving it forward, I had split the cost of the work with the Miss Metals contractor in half, with the balance of it being a draw from the CM contingency. PCO 750 is a back charge from the masonry contractor to the demolition contractor, nothing more there. PCO 751 is a CM contingency cost of $3,598. This is some older cleanup as I'm starting to close out trades, finding things that I forgot existed or didn't know existed. In the high school and the middle school, we'd spend some, premium hours to expedite, duct work down at the lower level, pipe insulation, masonry and other roofing activities for the two buildings. PCO 752 is an owner cost of $2,649. The title's a little misleading, but this is to incorporate a 10-foot wide double swing gate into the new 6-foot fence that is going to be installed where the football retaining wall is. There's a fence, 6-foot fence there that ties into the state fence. We're putting a 10-foot gate where we have that temporary asphalt pad to keep permanent. Cost.
What was the cost of that?
$2,649. Okay. PCO 753 is a CM contingency cost of $1,317. This is your reoccurring, monthly cost for temporary toilets for the January 2026 period. I think we had put an invoice in there for November because there was something from the November invoice that didn't get paid for, so we put it in here. So it's a little higher than the next one you'll see, but. PCO 755 is a CM contingency cost of $3,695. There is a condition in between the high school and the middle school gymnasium roofs. You have two high roofs and a low roof in the middle, where there's actually a curtain wall, it's a screen wall, we call it, opaque glass so you can't see the other units behind it. So that screen wall, it dives into the high story of the outside wall, so we have a joint right there, and there was, supposed to be an expansion joint scheduled in this area by the general trades contractor that did not get incorporated in their shop drawing process, so, we got there at the end and said, where's the expansion joint? Ultimately, we decided to flash it in with a roofing expansion joint, so we could ensure a weather-tight condition. It's a quirky detail where you got, ACM panel on the left side, you got a curtain wall on the right side, and your condition where those walls kind of come into play. So longevity, good decision. PCO 756 is an owner cost of $8,267. This is a bond adjustment for the general trades contractor, and the final payment for this trade is included in the latest payment application we just got. No more changes for them. The contract is closed. PCO 757 is a CM contingency cost of $613. Again, smaller recurring monthly cost for temporary toilets in the February period. PCO 758 is a CM contingency cost of $5,237. This is for some final cleaning required in the middle school, between all the phasing and the pipe grid installation that was delayed, final activities ahead of middle school opening. Again, final payment for this trade is included in the latest payment application. Nothing more from them. PCO 759 is an owner cost of $685. This is to introduce a wiring harness to resolve a conflict between the mechanical schedule and the submittal for the exhaust fan in the auto shop, and the discrepancy that we had saw with the electrical schedule with the motor. One of them said 208 and one said 120. PCO 760, owner cost of $2,880. This is a bond adjustment for the steel and the fireproofing contractors. Final payment for both of these trades is included in the latest payment application that's approved. PCO 7...
Contract closed.
Contract closed, yep. PCO 761 is a back charge from the drywall contractor to the HVAC contractor. PCO 762, owner contingency cost of $1,001. This is a bond adjustment for the fire protection contractor. Final payment for the trade is included in the latest payment application and contract closed. 763 is an owner cost of $4,971. In between the athletic field brick entry piers, those new piers we created, there's going to be existing salvage gates from the old pier setup, if you will. We explored some options to refinish those gates, sandblast them, powder coat them, replace the panic bar. It's an existing condition that was on one of the single gates, so we'll put a new one on there. Initially we assigned the reinstallation of the salvage gates based on instruction to our Miss Metals contractor, but we got a request to refinish these gates, so we decided to make them look better because they're in rough shape. So it made sense for us to keep it within the same guy, pay pay the fencing guy through the site work contractor to refinish the gates and also install it at the same time, so we didn't have any issue there. So I was able to get a $1,800 credit from the Miss Metals contractor to offset the refinishing of the gates cost and the labor that they're adding for to install it themselves. So overall, $4,971 change. And finally, PCO 764 has a CM contingency cost of $12,286. This is to credit back the scope of work for the interior oil water separator unit within the auto shop to outside of the building limits. In an effort to decrease our, building footprint, for ease of maintenance of the oil water separator and getting it pumped out. We thought it would be best when we asked the question to Slam to transfer to the site work guy, move the unit outside, which is what we ended up doing. And then you'll see all the credits in there. We got credits back from concrete contractors for all the foundation, pit, walls, the concrete slab where the unit was gonna be set into, all the plumbing work, all that gets moved out to outside, into the site guys package, and the miscellaneous metals gave us a credit for the galvanized angles, making up the opening of the pit, and the galvanized grading as well. All that's been captured as credits to offset site work costs. That's it.
I have a motion to approve the PCOs. Second, Casey. Thank you. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye, opposed? Next one, as I always give you, the up-to-date of all the payments that we've made and all the contractors. Next one is the progress payment. We received progress payment number 21 for $6,191,000. As you can see, the total we received to date, $21,301. I submitted the next payment last week, and they're holding $12 million as retainage.
12 million?
What? Next is payments of invoices. There are 3 for WB Mason, a total of $12,990. That closes him out. Can I have a motion to approve WB Mason's payment? Robin, second. Doug. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Next one is R&B. It's for their installation of all the work I've been doing for $22,400. Have a motion to approve that. Casey? Second. Doug? Thank you. Discussion? All in favor? Aye.
Hold on.
Yeah.
Who's this for? The flooring contractor?
Oh, no, R&B. No floor contract.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay. Well, I can't, Ed? I was
What?
having trouble hearing you.
What? You don't you know my Brooklyn accent?
Yeah. Go ahead.
Okay. Next one is BL. No, that's for 2 months because we didn't pay anybody last month. So it for 2 months is $4,620. Have a motion to approve. Ellen? Second, Case. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? And the last one is for Innovative Engineering, 2 months, $2,814.50. Have a motion to approve. Case, Robin, and Case. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay. The next is, I give you the breakdown of the project budget summary that lists everything except today's payments and what it is, and you get the date on everything. So this is ongoing, that I give it every month. The next one you have is we went out, I shouldn't say that, the city went out for bond anticipation notes for the project. We went out for $16,325,000. We received 5 bids. The winning bid was Raymond James and Associates at a rate of 2.264178%. We can all borrow money at 2%, which would be great. We can't. And also, we received a premium of $282,585.75. Just to go back and which I put in the memo to you, last year, March, the bank anticipation notes, the rate was 2.814. March of 2024, the rate was 3.16. The March of 23, the rate was 3.18. And in May of 2022, the rate was 2.265. So in 4 years, the 5th year is the lowest rate that we receive from bank anticipation. So if we all can borrow at 2.2%, I think we would want to borrow that. Okay. There was no executive session, so good that you are, John.
No, thank you very much. Looking forward to wrapping things up this, with the fields.
Just let you know, I'll Doug,
No, there was nothing. Thank you for all the information and everything.
Donna.
Well, I had a question if April 25th was still a date that was being targeted for an open house that had been mentioned at a prior meeting.
Yes. Yeah. Case?
Good, thank you.
State reimbursement, I know you talked about that, it's an executive session, right?
Yeah, well, I'll give that out next month.
Okay, all right.
I'm good, thank you, everybody.
3 things, just so you know, we have a meeting on April 7th, April 9th, to go over what we're gonna purchase for the auto shop. So the manufacturer's gonna be there. Send a note to everybody who's involved to be there, so we can talk about which one are we gonna purchase. 2 things, Ida. 2 things. One, B&L got an award.
Really?
Come on up.
Wow.
This is from the Building Connecticut Association, construction manager, Torrington Middle School, High School, and Central Office presented to B&L. Your work. Thanks. Thank you. You also have one.
Do you get to keep it or you gotta put it in the office? You got this little record, it's not a World Series ring. You get a ring.
This is from the Build Connecticut Award. Torrington Middle School, High School, Central Office presented to the City of Torrington Building Committee and the Board of Education. So we have that. So I'll give that to John as a member of both. And you can give it to. So, the project, you know, we had a couple of problems. It's, we won a number of awards. Both O&G and SLAM won an award, so that was good. And we also won an award as the owner. So my wife says, "You own Torrington?" Well, Barry and I own Torrington, yeah. So, that's all I have to say.
Good meeting, thank you.
John?
Good meeting.
Good meeting, yes. Great meeting.
I do have something else I want to ask.
Oh, yeah, you have too many questions already.
I know.
Well,
And it just came to my mind when we were talking about the gymnasium. If you are at the gymnasium looking up to the weight room, okay, or if you're looking out of the weight room down to the gymnasium, the slanted finish that's on there,
Steel?
whatever, no, the whole surface area itself.
Oh, it's a drywall frame, right, can we frame the drywall?
A little shed roof on top of it?
It's got like a shed. That shed is not cleanable. Do we know what the finish was supposed to be on that thing right there? In other words, it is a dirt trap.
It's MDF board.
on top of
with
it.
any paint or finish on it to give it some sort of smooth or cleanable finish?
It's painted, it's painted.
But it's probably, it's not a high gloss paint though.
Yeah, so no matter what goes up there, it stays up there, and if you go up there, the dust kind of collects to it, and it's, you know, so we're sure that the proper paint was installed on that. Make
I'll
it
double
clear.
check, just make sure, but
All right.
all good. Rachel, anything? Oh, then,
Good meeting.
Rachel. The next meeting is scheduled for April 16th, which is during school vacation. Any problem with that?
I won't be here. I'll be away, but yeah.
Yeah, I'll put on a note, if anybody's not here, let me know, so I'll send out a note tomorrow or the next day. If you're not gonna be here, let me know, so then we may have to cancel the meeting that weekend.
I have one more thing,
Yeah.
for consideration for, as our meetings potentially get fewer. It would be maybe nice to have one at the school as a final, just to be
Okay.
there together, potentially,
Yeah,
if
okay.
it's not difficult to set up.
Yeah. May do it in May, because hopefully baseball field will be done and the softball field will be working on. As you know, we hope, they're moving, again, they were up there yesterday, today, tomorrow and Saturday. Next week, we'll finish up the baseball. Okay, it is now 6:36, can I have a motion to adjourn?
So move.
Second?
Second.
Casey, all in favor? Aye. Opposed, okay. Good, have a good,